Ira Glass.
What did Mike tell you that convinced you it was time to do a little film fiction?
It wasn't one specific thing that you could put into words. It was a general era of like, come on, we're going, come on, it's gonna be fun. It's like, there's like a lot of like, I was explaining to a reporter tonight that Mike's style of directing is basically like running. He says like he was in student council in Shrewsbury, and he says basically his style of directing is not, if you picture like the great auteurs, like Scorsese, Coppola, it's not like that. He says he treats it like he's running the student council. And so with me and everyone, there would, like on the set, I would see him going around to people, and basically he would just like go up to each person and just like kind of crack jokes with them and make them feel like, oh, it's okay that I'm here, in the way that you would if you were like talking to the people who were putting like the crepe paper up at a dance. And that basically worked on me. I've read about Steve Jobs, how he creates like a reality distortion field around him, and I feel like that was Birbiglia with this film. Like a year ago, in January of 2011, he's like, okay, so here's the plan. He's like, all right, I've got it all mapped out. I'm not gonna tour this summer. That's how he makes his living, okay? I'm not gonna tour this summer. And instead, the plan is, we're gonna raise a ton of money, and in the summer we're going to shoot in July. We're going to shoot in July. The deadline for Sundance is October. We'll apply. We'll get in. We'll show at Sundance. We'll get a distributor, and then that's great. Then we'll all be famous. And I was like, I don't know. And then in May we still had nothing. We had nothing. Like it turns out it's really hard to raise $1 million. Who knew? And with someone who's never ever made a film, you know, like yeah. And so then it's May, and he's like, okay, well, as you know, we're shooting in July, so it's time to hire a line producer, get a budget together, and we got to start scouting locations. And I was like, what are we doing for money? And then he took money that he had made from his previous tour, and he just hired people. He opened up an office. We were like, and he read somewhere, he's told me that I feel like it was, in a way, like it was kind of an inspiring act of will to see somebody just decide, like, we're going here. Come on, everybody, it's gonna be fun, like, we're going. That was totally what he did. And he read somewhere that that Francis Ford Coppola had said, like, his way of making a film is you just act like the film is going to exist, and I'm making this film, and you can come with me or you can stand behind, but we're making a film. And that's what he did, and it worked. I haven't seen the film since Sundance, and in January, and I just remember how certain things came to be in the film, like that little speech that he makes at the end to the camera in the car came out of, there was a line that had gotten taken out of an earlier draft of the script, which I always thought was a really beautiful line, where Mike says, we were going to get married so neither one of us could get mad at each other. That used to be a line that Kristen Milioti, who plays his sister, said to him in that scene on the street. You're going to live with somebody for the rest of your life because you don't want her to get mad at you? Like, that's crazy. And then he goes, yeah, I know, that's crazy. And like that got cut. I was like, that line was so good. And then Mike had told me about, he visited the real life Abbey. And I was like, that's really interesting. Like, and we shot that scene like 3 weeks before we locked picture. Like it just came out of us like recutting the film over and over and over. And then I just suggested, like, don't you think you could do something with that? And then he went and ad-libbed that in a car, like on camera. And it was so beautiful, and we're all just like, oh, that's the ending, like, there we go. Like, we have an ending to the film.
I am so glad that you said that, because that was one of the, well, for me, that was the moment where I was like, Ira Glass definitely had something to do with this film. No, I mean, don't you, I mean, This American Life is just like that. You go through this journey with people, and then somehow, in one line, there's this little keyhole through which you see the entire human experience.
Wait, and for you, is the line the one that I'm saying?
Yeah, the exact same one in the car at the end, right? I mean, because how many of us have been through that situation where you just prolong this sort of, you know, agony, this deep agony, because you don't want to face the possibility of making somebody else mad.
Yes, yeah, I have been in that situation many times. Yes.
Is the idea of using sleepwalking as a storytelling device just seems so inspired to me, because you know, storytellers are always looking for ways to sort of reveal the unconscious or the deeper things that people don't actually talk about, flashback, voiceover, that way. that kind of thing. But I hadn't seen sleepwalking used so effectively before, and I was just wondering if you could tell us how that happened and where that idea came from, essentially.
I mean, the idea came from the actual thing that happened to Mike. Like, that's a true story. Like, those are the real pictures at the end of him, like, of the hotel room that he jumped through the window of. And I myself am somebody who despises dream sequences in movies and TV shows. I always thought that if the FCC, I don't understand why the FCC goes after dirty words. I feel like if I were head of the FCC, I would ban dream sequences. I always feel like they're the cheapest narrative move ever. But this really happened to Mike, and that, I mean, that was the basic story he was walking in the door with. Speaking of your question, it has a huge utility as a narrative trick, because especially for, it's one of the things that made me think we could make a movie, because you could make the sleepwalk sequences so big and cinematic. Like, our cinematographer, Adam, can really go to town. Like, he's a visual genius, but you know, when they're in a apartment, like, what can you do? But when you're out in a field doing the Dustbuster Olympics, like, he can really just go to town and make something beautiful and make something that is appropriate to a big wide screen. And then the fact that his unconscious is telling him the truth and that he's in denial. There's a lot of stories we do on the radio show that are about people who won't face the truth about their situation. And it's nice that it has such a literal manifestation, that he's acting it out in a way that you can perform it on screen, that it isn't just we have to infer he's in denial about his situation. So as just a narrative trick, it's really good. And then Mike has said that as somebody who sleepwalks, he always feels like the way sleepwalking has been portrayed in films is really corny, that it's like people walking around, you know, like this. Like Olive Oyl, you know, on a sleepwalking bender, and Papa has to save her, which is a real film. And so he wanted to, like, portray the real thing. So actually, I like that too, the fact that, like, we could document the actual experience a person has. And then we were really, like, we schemed a lot about, like, how to do the sleepwalks in a way that the audience wouldn't know that it's a sleepwalk until he realizes it. Like, you could write it so that we would know right away with the lighting, and it could seem super real, super colored. And you know, and in the one where he's being chased by the jackal out in the field, you can tell that, like, it's a dream. But the other ones, you know, like the one that ends up with the pizza pillow, like, it just, you don't know until the pizza pillow. And like in earlier drafts of the script, that was like, we had to figure that out. Like, somebody pointed out, like, well, wait, I can tell, like, this is the dream, right? And it was just like, oh, right, we got to fix that, so that they all sneak up on you. So.
Does he still suffer from that?
Does he still suffer from it? Yeah, he totally does.
Does he really sleep in a sleeping bag?
I mean, yes, but he's not as careful about it as you would believe watching the movie. And you know, like in situations like staying up late and not getting enough sleep, like, it's dangerous for him. You know, like it's actually very, very dangerous for him. And it's something he really has to be vigilant about. I mean, you'd never get cured of it. So, I mean, all you can do is just be vigilant.